Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lefty from 643 Productions back again with another video commentary. And I don't want to say that I have to make this video because I don't. I'm choosing to. And I'm choosing to because this is something that I hope to, I guess you could say, nip it in the bud before it gains too much steam. This is something that I've heard whispers about for a while, and I hoped it would go away. I hope that rationality would prevail. I hope that rational skepticism would prevail. And it hasn't. It's been gaining steam on Twitter and YouTube, and it's coming to a head now. Now it's making the rounds on Facebook, and the teeming masses of idiots are now having their way with it. And it's something that it's starting to creep now into the corner of YouTube and Twitter that I reside in, or that I'm trying to reside in. And I just want to make this for everybody out there that's even possibly skeptical about something like this, and I'm talking here about the conspiracy theories surrounding the Sandy Hook elementary school shooting, that awful tragedy that happened in late 2012, and I understand conspiracy theories. I understand why they exist. I understand that the human animal is one that that identifies very well with patterns. We are very much a species. We look for patterns. We even find patterns where they don't exist because we are just we identify so well with the order that is brought from patterns. And that's why, human animals are incredibly awful random number generators. You don't want to ask somebody for a random number or a series of random numbers because they're not very random. And so I understand why conspiracy theories exist, but when it comes to this, and when it comes to the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting and the evidence that we see being used and just the way it's brought up, especially in conspiracy theories, I'm reminded of the South Park episode where Cartman, I forget the specifics, but Cartman started an ancillary school news show. And it was obviously they were playing on Fox News, and I believe Cartman was supposed to be Glenn Beck, I think, at the time. And his bit was he would just ask questions of people. He would just ask ambiguous questions that really could not possibly be answered. And when the ambiguous questions weren't answered, he would treat that as proof of any given point. And that's what we see kind of here, especially in the Sandy Hook thing. You see a lot of, why this? Why that? Why didn't this happen? Well, got to be a conspiracy. And I'm reminded of David Stern, the commissioner of the NBA, actually got in trouble for this. But I've been aware of this logical fallacy for some time. If you go up to somebody and you ask them, when did you stop beating your wife? Can't really answer that question. But it would be very easy for you to take a non-answer to that question, a question which cannot be answered, but you don't really want to talk about that. You could take a non-answer to that question and say, oh, well, hey, stop beating your wife because you just admitted to beating your wife because there's now a conspiracy to beat your wife. That is the kind of thing we are dealing with here. The evidence, I am not prepared right now to go through point by point and line item, debunk everything in the video with evidence. That has actually already been done, thankfully, on Reddit, in a Reddit post or a Reddit thread. I'm a complete idiot when it comes to Reddit. I don't use Reddit. I don't even have a Reddit account. And I wanted on the record that I was going on a rant about this on Twitter before I was even made aware of this Reddit thread or post, whatever it's called. Sorry if I get it wrong. But user Pregit, I'm going to call it Pregit, did an awesome breakdown debunking with evidence many of the points raised in this video, and many of the points that people seem to center on in creating this. Oh, well, there's a lot of inconsistencies in this Sandy Hook shooting, and and so a link to that will be in the description. You can go ahead and check it out. But just really quick, off the top of my head, the grieving father that may or may not be laughing before talking to the press, that grief, that kind of grief of having your child murdered, taken from you, and murdered, is probably unparalleled in the human experience. And when you deal with grieving situations like that and the tremendous amount of emotional stress, oddities become the norm. Going through a range of emotions is not at all out of the realm of possibility. In fact, it is documented to happen. People go through times where they remember the fond times and they laugh and they smile immediately after a tragic event, but then they snap back to reality and the awful things that they have to face. And just because the guy takes a few deep breaths doesn't mean he's getting into character. I mean, yeah, he could be, but isn't it a whole lot more reasonable to explain it away as like, well, guy's dealing with a hell of a lot of emotional distress. It's probably more likely that it's just his emotions, his psyche, the craziness that is the human consciousness, our sentient nature, just bug it out because this awful thing happened to him and his family and his daughter, and also the Emily. I forget her last name. It's the daughter of the guy just mentioned. Is not dead, and she's actually sitting on the president's knee in this picture because the photog got it screwed up, and they brought out the kid that was supposed to be dead. It really could be your sister because they are, well, sisters, and they both have the same hair, kind of around the same age, they look alike, especially because they're younger human beings, and younger human beings don't have all of that many distinctive facial features and as grown human beings do, and it could be her. Because either it's actually her and she's wearing a same or similar dress, which again, they're the same or similar size, being the same and similar age, which is entirely reasonable, or the President of the United States is involved in a conspiracy to murder or create the fake murder of children, which is more reasonable. And there's more and more debunking of these specific points, but that gets me into the theory, or debunking conspiracy theories. I'll put it this way. You can create a model of the universe in which when you leave your house, all of your furniture disappears. Just disappears. Boop, thin air. You can create that model, and you can live by that model. And that model would agree with observation, because when you leave your house, you don't see your kitchen table, do you? You don't see your dining room table. You don't see the chairs. You don't see the couch. You don't see the TV stand. You don't see your bed. You don't see any of that. It must be gone out of your house, vanished into thin air. It would agree with observation. But what's more likely? That you indeed do live in a universe where when you leave your house, all your furniture disappears into thin air, or you just don't see it because not enough light is being reflected off of those things, getting to your eye because of the walls and the distance separating you. What is more likely? That is, I think, that is how I approach, from a fundamental standpoint, conspiracy theories. And is it more reasonable that this rational explanation explains away what, these crazy questions? Why weren't there paramedics rushing in and out of the Sandy Hook Elementary School? Why weren't there more ambulances? Well, what's more likely, that the footage that's creating these questions, these why questions, was taken at a later date? I mean, because the shooting did occur early in the morning, and the footage was taken in the early to mid-afternoon, or that, again, we're living in a world where the government conspires to murder or fake murder children to get gun legislation passed. What's more likely? And oh yeah, they forgot to hire enough ambulances, and they forgot. What's more likely, that a special ops CIA operative that was there to make sure everything went on the up and up was caught by state and state police and sheriff's deputies, or that it was the athletic director or the gym teacher or whatever it was of the school, and he was sitting in the front of the police car, not the back, because when you're a CIA operative and you're arrested on the grounds of a horrific tragedy involving the murders of children, and you flash your CIA badge, your special CIA badge that you're issued along with your cyanide pill, you get to sit in the front of the police car instead of the back. And every point, and that's why I urge you to go to check out this Reddit page or post or every single point in this conspiracy theory, just like every single other conspiracy theory out there, every single point has a rational explanation that is a lot more applicable and reasonable than living in a world where the government conspires to murder or fake murder children. And I know a lot of people are going to center on the dates and times of creations of those websites. Well, you know what? Dates and websites of times have weird settings. Sometimes they get screwed up. Sometimes big websites screw it up. Maybe the server was wrong. Maybe the date and time of the website itself was changed. There's a story in the Reddit post where the creator of one of the Facebook sites actually changed the name of a group that they had created earlier with no members to be a memorial for the Sandy Hook victims, which changed the URL of the group, but not the date it was created. So it would appear, if you were just going by the date that Facebook said it was created, it would appear as though that group was created before the Sandy Hook tragedy, whereas it was just up until the Sandy Hook tragedy, it was a group that nobody joined on Facebook, and then the URL was changed to be, on the day of the tragedy or the day after the tragedy, it was changed to be a page, a memorial page for all the victims. So what's more likely in that sense? That explanation holds true, or that the actors and the conspirators hired by the government to aid and abet in this fake murder or murder of children somehow screwed up and created the Facebook page a day early. Now, I understand. Now, this is to say, I understand why people, getting back to what we said in the beginning of the video, or what I said. You didn't say it. Maybe you have. I don't know. Hopefully now, going forward, you will say this. I understand why people subscribe to conspiracy theories, because it makes the world make sense. A world in which a psychotic kid with mental issues can go into a school and do horrendous things, or a world where a few other psychotic kids can go into a school and do horrendous things, or go onto a college campus, or go into a crowded theater and do horrendous things. A group where ideologically and religiously motivated fanatics can murder thousands of people in an instant. A world where those people can do those things on their own is chaotic. And it is, frankly, a little bit scary. But a world in which all those things, the government is responsible for all those things, is a bit more of an ordered world. Sure, those awful things still happened, and if you believe some of the conspiracy theories, nobody actually died, so it's not that bad. But in a world where the government is responsible for all those, the world makes some amount of sense. The world is restored to some amount of order. Sure, those awful things still happen, but it was the government that did it. So the human animal isn't really so nefarious as to be able to achieve those kinds of horrific ends. It's just the evil, faceless government that did it. That's where we're at. And those are the motivating factors. But we live sometimes in a scary world. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We live in a world where, especially in America, because of our liberties, crazy people can sometimes do crazy, horrific things. Or sometimes just mean people can do crazy, horrific things. And it's sad, and it's awful, and it's a little bit scary, but we may have to face up to that first. We may have to own up to that first and move away from the blaming the government for everything and admit, oh, yeah, it's probably us. It's us. It's the animal. And then, and only then, I think, can we move on and try to substantively eradicate all these the root causes of these things. Because trying to ask ambiguous questions and paint the government as a cloak and dagger Machiavellian conspirator against its own citizens, it's not going to get us anywhere. You want to blame somebody for Sandy Hook? You want to blame somebody for the inconsistencies? It's not a government conspiracy. How about we look at the 24/7 news cycle? How about we look at all those networks, the people that were rushing, falling all over themselves, competing with each other to shove cameras and microphones in the faces of parents who just had their child murdered, or shoving cameras and microphones in the face of children who had just had classmates and friends and teachers murdered and just been shot at. How about we blame them? How about we blame them for the inconsistencies of the number of gunmen? How about we blame them for going so quickly to air with completely uncorroborated reports and reporting them as facts? How about we look at that? How about we look at that rationale as part of the underlying problem with this whole Sandy Hook thing, instead of, oh, well, the government screwed up in its own conspiracy. The government couldn't even cover up the president getting a blowjob. You really think they're going to be able to do something like this? Anyway, guys, that's my time. I got to get out of here. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to drop a like on this video if you did enjoy. Remember, likes, favorites, comments, and shares via Facebook and Twitter do help me out. Thank you guys for joining. I hope you enjoyed. I'm out.